Welcome to the book of Jeremiah, exegesis in the Hebrew text of Jeremiah, who is called a prophet to the nations. Terminology that comes out in chapter 1, that Jeremiah the prophet called at a very pivotal time in the history of the ancient Near East and in the history of Israel, God's people. And Jeremiah, of course, plays a pivotal role in the period just before and then after the destruction of Jerusalem, coming as a result of generations, indeed centuries, of Israel's rebellion against God. Jeremiah is a fascinating book to study in a variety of ways. First, it is by word count the longest book in the Old Testament. There are books like Psalms that have more chapters, and as does Isaiah, but by word count, Jeremiah, because of many very long verses and so forth, is the longest book in the Old Testament. Comparable, again, a little bit longer than Isaiah, Psalms, and the book of Numbers, which are the next four behind the book of Jeremiah. Its organization is one of the most challenging because it's not in chronological order. It goes back and forth in time, particularly in the various engagements which Jeremiah the prophet has with the kings of Judah. So at times we'll be talking about Zedekiah, it'll go back to Jehoiakim, and then head to Zedekiah, it'll go back to Pashur or to Hananiah, priests, prophets, and so forth of that day. And so one of the challenges for the book is its organization. And as you'll read in your introduction, in the textbook by Thompson, we also have a very different organization that's represented in the Greek translation, the Septuagint, in two different ways. Number one, it is about 14% shorter in the Greek version. Many places where the Masoretic text of the Hebrew has duplications, those are not duplicated. At other times, there are simply 3, 4, 5, or more verses that you'll find in the Masoretic text that are not found in the Greek text. So a variety of ways that it's different. The second way is the actual organization of the book. The oracles to the nations, which are chapters 46 through 51 in the Hebrew text of Jeremiah, are found in the middle of the book. As a matter of fact, in the middle of chapter 25. In the context of the oracle against Babylon destruction, the 70 years of Babylonian history, and the 70 years of Israelite exile in the land of Babylon. The oracles against the other nations, which are also in slightly different order than the Hebrew text. And so the organization of the book of Jeremiah is a challenging one in many ways. It is about the prophet Jeremiah that we learn more about any individual prophet of the Old Testament because of so many events that are reflected in his engagements with priests, prophets, people, kings, varieties of individuals and varieties of circumstances. And so the life, the struggles, the persona, the struggle that he has as a called prophet of God are reflected at times, even echoing disdain for his very birth. Though called from the womb, as he tells us up front in the first chapter, he bemoans at times, regrets his birth and his calling into this critical, difficult, challenging point in the history of God's dealing with his people on an international scale. It is a time of international crisis. We're going to talk about Assyria, Babylon, and Egypt, all whom evolve around the land of Israel in the northern kingdom and Judah in the south. And also in that day, there were many other mercenary forces. One of the issues of the foe from the north described in chapter 1 and then later in the book of Jeremiah is identifying this particular foe, sometimes associated with the Scythians, the people who lived up in northeastern, what is modern-day Turkey. But it's a time of shifting empires, collapsing empires. We're about 100 years after the fall of Samaria, when Jeremiah is called. Samaria, again, the northern kingdom fell to the Assyrians approximately 722 BC. Jeremiah's call comes in approximately 626 BC, the 13th year of Josiah. And so international changing of who is the dominant empire on the block of the ancient world, and also internally the collapsing of Samaria. And then, as Jeremiah will proclaim, the judgment of God in bringing into the single territory of Judah in the sequence of exiles beginning around 604 and extending all the way down to 586 BC, when Jerusalem itself is destroyed. So, international scale and local scale, Jeremiah was a prophet to many nations of the ancient world.